Hey guys, our team at Conscious Basketball is working very hard to get Game 2 of Bucks and Bulls out and on the website. And for those that don't know, we do a recap of every game. We also have a game log and stats and grades that each analyst tracks as they're watching the game. So that should be out shortly. But before that comes out, definitely wanted to look at some of the Demar Derozen shots that he made during the game and look at some of the defense on it. And really, because when you check out the logs and the grades, you're going to see that Giannis's grade is fairly low for what he's accustomed to on defense. And we all know that Giannis is a great help defender, a great off-ball defender. We also grade on-ball defense and rim protection, etc., etc. So Giannis gets very high marks in those categories and on-ball defense. But in the second half against the Bulls, Giannis struggled a little bit with defending Demar Derozen. And at times, looked like Demar Derozen was actually hunting for Giannis. And what we mean by that is really Demar Derozen and the Bulls panned to try to get Giannis and whatever defender that they're quote-unquote hunting onto on-ball defense situations against their star players. So that was DeRozan, and that seemed to be the Bulls' MO on offense in the second half. So we're going to go through some of DeMar DeRozan's jumpers and some of his shots in the second half, starting with early in the third quarter. And here, again, so DeRozan is lined up against Giannis. And when it comes to a player like DeRozan, and really most NBA players, the way that we grade it is we grade on a scale of how positive or how negative what you did on the court impacted your team's ability to win games. And when it comes to on-ball defense, we are very diligent about on-ball defense, and it's hard to get a really high on-ball defensive grade because there is a lot that you have to do to really defend NBA players well on ball. And for defenders, the best things they can have, three attributes that we look out for is athleticism, IQ, and effort. And you have to give enough effort on defense to really contest and help your team out. But you also have to have discipline and have to have the IQ to not fall for fakes when you're on ball and to keep a guy in front of you. And then obviously athleticism is the one that most people understand. A lot of people are just, Giannis, for example, is just out of this world when it comes to his length and his ability to contest shots and stuff. But the reason Giannis is actually more impactful as an off-ball help defender is not because he's a bad on-ball defender. It's just a lot easier in the NBA to be more impactful off-ball because there are so many great shot makers in the NBA. And DeRozan is one of them. And you have to almost do everything perfectly to get DeRozan to actually affect his shot. Not for him to miss, because making and missing shots is more on a lot of other factors on the offense player's end. And your defending that player will impact the shot, but it would have to be incredible defense to actually really affect the shot. And it's just hard to do. It really is. It's really hard to do with the action that offensive teams do nowadays and with how wide the floor is open. Like, it's really hard to play perfect on-ball defense, but not impossible. And Giannis during this game, down the stretch, his on-ball defense could have been better. Now, how could it have been better? In a lot of the shots that DeMar DeRozan took, DeMar DeRozan on Giannis in particular, DeMar DeRozan got to his spot. DeMar DeRozan, like a lot of NBA players, definitely the mid-range maestros we have in the league, a lot of them have a spot that they get to. And that spot, they're almost, definitely DeMar DeRozan, he's almost robotic in the way that he gets to his spot, he knows where his spot is, and no matter what you do, if he's at that spot, him making or missing the shot is more than likely on him, and he's more likely going to make it because he's where he wants to be on the court. He's where he's comfortable at being. You have to body him up, and you have to have not only the agility to stay with him, but also the strength to keep him from going to that spot. We're going to see a couple plays where the Bucks defenders actually did this well and force him to not get to a spot and pass out or take shots that we probably think aren't as tough as other shots he did, but in his mind, his head, it definitely is, because he's not at his spot. Another thing on-ball defense is not just keeping player from getting to their spot, but also contesting the shot and getting to a player's airspace and affecting his motion without fouling the player. That's really important too. When the shot actually goes up, whether the player's at a spot or not, you really have to get into a player's airspace, and you really have to do all you can to not only just put a hand up and say that's a contest, but make a player shoot over you, make a player time your jumps perfectly. There's a lot you have to do to really affect that player and make sure that you are in this airspace and you are defending the shot as close as you possibly can, again, without fouling. So to start the third quarter, Demar Derozen, again, if you look at it, it's almost telegraphed what he's going to do. By this point, everyone knows he's going to shoot right there. It's nothing special he did, nothing crazy he did. He just rose up and shot. And Giannis, though this looks like a good contest, Giannis is a little bit late at contesting. So right here, DeRozan's already almost off the ground, ball's over where he needs it to be, and the shot is going up. Giannis is not, as an NBA player, Giannis is not affecting that shot much. And it goes in. So Giannis didn't affect that shot as much as it looks like after replay. If you look at it in fast motion, it's like, oh yeah, that's a tough shot. But really, in actuality, DeRozan got to his spot. There was still space and separation, so Giannis didn't really affect the motion of the shot or make him shoot an off-balance shot. And that's one of the grades and the stats that we track. One of the stats we track is forcing tough shots, and forcing tough shots is really getting a player off balance and making them take a really heavily contested shot. That's not necessarily heavily contested. And then once again, here we go. So Wesley Matthews and Drew Holiday played pretty good defense on DeRozan. And Wesley Matthews got screened out of the play. Switch happens. It's what the Bucks want to do. It's not necessarily a bad defensive play. It's what the Bucks want to do. So a switch happened is what the Bulls want the Bucks to do too. And DeRozan gets to his spot again and rises up, and he makes that shot to you over Giannis. This one's a little bit better on Giannis' part, but again, it has to be nearly perfect. It has to be nearly perfect to defend effectively against a player like Demar Derozen. Right now, he's at his spot. Look how far Giannis is away from DeRozan. He's at his spot, and Giannis has ridiculous length, long arms. So the contest is still decent, but even then, look at that. Like, when DeRozan starts to rise off the ground, where's Giannis at? Giannis is still not close enough to really totally affect the shot, and it goes in. Are we really worried about it going in or not as we grade and track stats? Not really, because in our heads, the moment we get here, we are already like, okay, cool, that's not, no matter if this was to win the game, to lose the game, if the shot goes in or not, Giannis still could have played better defense. That's kind of how, it's kind of a little bit how our grade system works when it comes to on-ball defense, just in case you didn't know. But that's a good example right there. With the making and missing of the shot is important because, you can really stop a player and mess up their motion enough to make them miss shots, but it's more important that you just have effort, intelligence, and the athleticism to really, really affect the shot. Or the best thing you can do in these situations is deny the shot, deny the spot, and make them pass out of it, make them have to rethink, make the offense reset. This right here, a good boot screen. Wesley Matthews Wesley Matthews had to go around, and Brooks dropping, so this is the worst for the drop coverage on these mid-range players like Chris Paul, KD, and DeRozan is just really good, even though DeRozan didn't miss, because Wesley Matthews, if you see here, now compare Wesley Matthews' contests here to Giannis's. DeRozan is still in the air. The ball's well over Wesley Matthews is contesting at. But look at where Wesley is. He is right in DeRozan's airspace without fouling. And if you listen to like Kevin Durant talk about defenders on him, he always mentioned how Tony Allen and other smaller defenders really affected him because those players get into the airspace of these great shooters like KD and other shooters, and they stop them from. They really mess up their rhythm and their motion, and that is good defense. Wesley Matthews right here. This is a good contest and good defense. The shot could have went in because it's still Demar Derozen and it's still drop coverage. There's not much you could have done there, but you affected the shot enough to where did that really cause a miss? Who knows? But at least for us, that is a good defensive possession. Now you have Drew Holiday. Not much you can do there. This is obviously a drawn up play, and Vooch gets the ball to DeRozan, and Drew kind of got past whatever Patrick Williams was trying to do there. Kind of a lazy contest, but also this is not a good offensive possession for. I mean, it's a decent offensive possession for the Bulls, but nothing crazy. This is kind of like whatever, really. Kind of a nil point, and that's a lot of the plays in NBA basketball too. It's not necessarily a positive, real positive or negative thing happening. It's more of just an NBA play happening. And again, attacking Giannis. So you have Giannis against DeRozan, and then it's really easy. That's too easy. That's this drop coverage and Wesley Matthews having to switch onto Vooch or go around the screen. That is too easy. Again, look at where Giannis is. He's not affecting the shot enough. That's too easy right there. And obviously, shots in the paint and getting close to the basket like this, you're, as any person would know, you're increasing your chances of making a shot the closer you are to the basket. So, letting the player get close to the basket, get a floater up, whatever that was, that's too easy. Way too easy. Not a good job by the Bucks. Here we go again. So this time you got Derrick Jones Jr. setting the screen, and Giannis. So this is much higher, top of the key for DeRozan. So a little bit of a tougher shot, and Giannis again. It's just not enough. It's just not enough. It's not terrible. I'm not attacking. What do I know? It's Giannis, one of the best players in the league, probably the best player in the league, but it's not enough on a player like DeRozan, and this is where the struggles can come with in the Bucks series if Giannis doesn't play. Maybe it's because of the foul trouble, but if Giannis doesn't play closer on DeRozan and for him to get into that spot, this is kind of what can happen. And DeRozan gets back to Ayo Dosunmu, and then Ayo Dosunmu immediately gets the ball back to DeRozan. Everybody in the Bulls knows what DeRozan wants to do, and Giannis knows what DeRozan wants to do. The Bucks know what DeRozan wants to do. They're attacking Giannis, so this is actually a 3, which isn't necessarily DeRozan's spot, as we all know. And Giannis gets a decent contest? No, not really. He's again, yeah, look at where he is when the shot goes up. I mean, you're not defending DeRozan very heavily at the 3-point line in the first place, but where he is when the shot goes up just is not ideal at all. And DeRozan makes a shot. Again, tough shot. I mean, these are somewhat difficult shots. They're not the easiest shot in the world. I don't want to make it sound like the Bucks absolutely failed defensively, but that is still, for the most part, an easy shot in DeRozan's world. Okay, I think this is a play where Giannis definitely gets the better of DeRozan here. Not very good defense by Middleton in the first place. DeRozan's on the drive, and Giannis squares up, and he times the shot well, and he sends it back. Yeah. Good defense, good rim protection. This is what Giannis does the best, obviously. And yeah, just a really good defensive possession, and that's what Giannis is known for, and that's the best way he plays defense. It's really these mid-range shots and getting to the spot even inside the circle. Now, here's Middleton with a contest on DeRozan, and that is a good contest. You have your hands up. You have your hands up. You're in, again, the player's airspace, and whether the shot goes in or not, this is actually a good contest by Middleton. Shot does go in. Again, it's DeRozan. What are you gonna do? I got it sometimes. But yeah, so then you have another one where Giannis gets switched on by DeRozan, and DeRozan pretty much shakes Giannis here to get a little open. And this is one of the times where DeRozan actually did something other than come up and look for a spot. And now he did a little bit of dribble action, and this is basically a wide open shot. Again, Wesley Matthews starts off on him, then Giannis, Giannis already knows what's gonna happen, and he's ready to take the challenge on. And DeRozan, this was a good contest, a better contest than the other ones we've seen. And he's somewhat in his airspace, got his hand up in time, and DeRozan still made the shot. Ridiculous. It's definitely, again, like we talked about earlier, shot making and stuff like that. There's only so much you can affect. You really want to do more ball denial as possible, and I think we're going to see a couple of good ball denial defensive stops by the Bucks here. So Giannis is not on the floor, so you have Wesley Matthews. Wesley Matthews gets around the screen, and by the time the shot goes up, Wesley Matthews is in his airspace a little bit and has his hand up, and DeRozan makes the shot. Insane. And then once again, you have Wesley Matthews on DeRozan and Brook Lopez dropping. And DeRozan goes up for a heavily contested shot. So this is one of the best contests so far. And it's really... So Wesley Matthews almost stripped the ball from DeRozan too at the same time. And when the shot goes up, Wesley Matthews is damn near blocking the shot. He's in his airspace. DeRozan doesn't get a lot of lift off the floor, and this is one of the of course he misses it. This is very tight defense, and that's one of the more obvious great defensive plays that will lead to a defensive stop here. Wesley Matthews once again gets a strip on DeRozan as DeRozan drives, and this is one of the times where DeRozan definitely wanted to take over the game, definitely wanted to do what he had to do to give the Bulls a victory, but Vooch had a decent game shooting, and he is wide open. That could have been a passing situation. Again, that's one thing that our grades will notice and say, hey, DeRozan missed an open teammate, which is a stat that we track, by the way. So yeah. All right, this time we have Jrue Holiday. Jrue Holiday, in our ratings, he was one of our best defenders last year, grade-wise, and this year he's kind of fallen off a little bit on our overall grading. Still a good defender, but we're hoping that in the playoffs he turns it on and does what he have to do on the defensive end. And in this game, at least when he was defending Giannis, you can kind of see that. This, which the refs called incorrectly, which we also track. We also keep track of officiating logs and every possession that officiating calls, missed calls, made calls, like that. So please check that out. But this right here is a great block by Jrue Holiday. Jrue Holiday has the length, he has the IQ, he timed it perfectly, and he's in the airspace and everything you could possibly do correctly. Jrue did there and got them a defensive stop and forced a turnover. So Wesley Matthews against DeRozan. So Wesley Matthews again strips DeRozan as he's going up for the shot. Wesley Matthews and Jrue Holiday just playing great anticipation on defense and also just sticking in airspace and getting those contests up. Great job. So Jrue Holiday again. So look at the way Jrue Holiday is defending DeRozan. Different than what Giannis was doing earlier in the game. He is right there. DeRozan, it's much harder to get to your spot when the defender is that tight on you and that close. And DeRozan tries to get to his spot and even does get a good shot up because he's such a great shot maker, such a great shot creator. Jrue Holiday gets a decent contest. Could have been getting better, which is what you risk when you are playing so closely because players. DeMar Derozen also is one of the really good ball handler too. So he did get to his spot a little bit, but did miss a shot. Caruso had an awesome game, playmaking wise and on defense. He got the rebound. Luckily, Patrick Williams missed an open three. Vooch got the rebound. Another guy who had a really great game. And this is kind of where DeMar Derozen ended it. Pat Connaughton, don't know what he was doing. Giannis. Giannis just took it right at Giannis and made it, and that basically sealed the win for the Bulls. So this wasn't necessarily a really bad defensive game from Giannis. Some of those contests are decent for most players, and some of those contests can actually affect the shots. Definitely with someone that has Giannis' length and size. But going into game 3, Giannis is really going to have to lock in. And again, it could have been for the foul trouble, but he is going to have to lock in and play a lot tougher on DeRozan if he still wants to, if he's getting hunted out on screen and stuff like that. But Giannis's best ability is as an off-ball help defender and also in the paint and on rim protection. So the Bucks really have to scheme some things together to get the favorable matchup that they want when it comes to defending DeRozan, whether that's double teams or Wesley and Drew Holiday sharing time on him and working extra hard to defend him. The only problem with double teaming DeRozan is a good playmaker, and a lot of things that people forgot when Bulls fans were excited about when getting DeRozan originally is that DeRozan is a great playmaker, and he was great for the Spurs, and he's been pretty good for the Bulls. And the reason this Bulls team is even in this situation is because the front office relied on good defenders and good playmakers. And as an NBA offense in 2022, you really must have playmakers all over the court. Zach LaVine, while isn't perfect, he's a decent playmaker. Caruso is one of the most underrated playmakers in the league and ball handlers. Vucevic is a really good playmaker at center. And you can see some of the plays where Vucevic was out of the game, Tristan Thompson was in, and the Bucks defense hounded the Bulls, and you were basically playing 4-on-5. This is why Vucevic is really important, why Caruso is really important, and obviously why DeRozan is really important as a shot creator and a shot maker. So I feel really confident in the Bucks to shore that up, but I also feel confident in the Bulls to continue to play their game, continue to get DeRozan and Zach LaVine the ball, and I'm really excited to see the rest of the series. I think this is actually going to be a very good series compared to what most people thought. It sucks what happened to Middleton, he's out, but yeah, we're going to release the game logs and stats and the grades. If you want to check out all the stats and the grades for every playoff game in the regular season going back the last 2 years, make sure you subscribe to Conscious Basketball. And also, if you want to know how it works, how the grading scale works, and the stats we track, I'll link it in the description so you can check that out. And yeah, I hope you guys